Grab yourself a cup of coffee.
Got myself a cup of Joe to raise the octave of my voice.
To welcome the new day.
Mm-hmm. It's part of the ritual for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'd do without it. I don't know what you're doing over there without it.
I
Got your lemon tea? Got your lemon ginger tea?
yeah, I do. I got a spot of tea.
Got spot tea.
Oh my
We're gonna
goodness.
take my daughter to tea for her birthday.
Oh, cool.
Tea house, like a full-on British tea house. You
Wow,
got to
that
dress
sounds
up
actually.
and everything.
Do you know how to tuck your shirt in?
I don't know anything. just apply that to any question like that.
Do you know how to tie a tie? What's a tie?
What? Wait, I'm sorry, you said the same word twice. I don't understand.
Oh,
Do a wins a knot.
when we do officially go back into reality, real world, whatever we
But you
want
were
to
gonna
call
say
it.
rehab, yeah.
Yeah, it could be rehab.
It could be.
But when we do actually go to that and we start to have to wear office wear, it's going to feel so weird. Like, I don't,
Yeah, I agree. I think that's change. I think sweats at work is a thing.
sweats at work better be a thing.
So, yeah, and is that the worst name for any pair of clothing ever?
Probably. I mean, I have a pair of nice, fancy dress sweats.
We need a new name. We need a new name. Architects can name this in a much better way. But sweats? Really? Ugh.
Leisure
These are the
pants.
pants in which you sweat. Bring your sweat to work day. Terrible.
I think architecture is already built on bringing your sweat to work.
Yeah, yeah. Built on the backs of bringing your sweat to work. So how about them gas prices, huh?
Uh,
What's the deal with
not
that?
only
I
not only gas prices, but gas shortage.
availability. Yeah.
Um,
Non-availability.
so I went for a hike. Not really to be quite honest with you, I wasn't thinking too much of it
Sure.
until I started to see, everybody's posts about, oh my gosh, and people like going out and doing the exact same thing as they did with toilet paper, and they're hoarding gas where people are getting in line with cans and cans, they're filling up their cars and they're filling up their cans, and
Mm-hmm.
it gets to that last drop, and then they look back at the person that they just kind of like short sheeted and said, too
Yeah,
bad for
yeah.
you.
It's all about me. Yep.
Yeah.
Don't care about you.
And and so I went for a morning hike today and as I was so then it dawned on me, oh, I need gas when I drove past my normal gas station,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a line of at least 30 plus cars per pump, and there's 8 pumps. So do the quick multiplication.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of cars out there waiting for gas.
On the
And
fly, that's 240 cars, 240
yeah,
vehicles. Probably
waiting,
sitting there engine idling as well.
engine idling,
because
waiting for gas.
because like if you are on your phone with the engine off, someone's going to swoop in front of you if you're not like
Oh yeah,
on
yeah,
it, right?
absolutely. And it's
What
so
a
weird too because
ridiculous.
this is one of those that you can enter from either side, and so they've got mapped out where there's like actual lanes. It's just
Yeah.
like people coming from that side go to these lanes, people coming from this side go to those lanes, and of course it's a big cluster.
Yeah, totally. Totally.
Fudge.
Yeah, I've been in those lanes. Like that's normal getting gas in California at Costco in the
Yeah,
afternoon. It's like that is it. It's always like that.
yeah,
Oh my god.
and so I was like, okay, well, obviously not going to that one, and I just kept on driving to my hike spot,
You're like if I
and
stop there, I'll never hike.
well, true, exactly, and so then I drove past two others,
Uh-huh.
and they had their signs up, or they basically had like they had the red
Mhm.
baggie over the handle and cones basically cordoning off and then I'm like, okay, so I do my hike, I start driving back and drive past those two barren stations and went back past the other one, which was my normal stop, because I get gas points and from grocery shopping, and
Right.
I was like got $1 off, I don't think it's going to even help me even if I have like $1 off right now because the gas prices are at like 4.30 now.
That's what they are
And
here. Thanks,
I
guys.
know,
Thanks, East Coast.
yeah. and
Jeez.
so and so then I go to this other one, which is usually normally a higher priced gas station, and the only time I ever go there, and it's the closest one to me, but the only time I ever go there is when I'm like
You're about to
I
run
don't
out.
even have enough gas to
Yeah,
get to like my normal spot.
right.
And they of course have the no gas, sorry, no gas sign like up. The only thing is that you don't see it until you turn in. So if you don't have gas, just turn
Free
your
parking.
signage off.
It's free parking.
Yeah, let's just turn your signage off and let people know in advance that you have no gas.
Right.
So I was chatting with my wife because she was just like, I mean, I have my range counter says that I've got 61 miles of gas,
Which is a lie.
which is a lie, as we all know. And then, of course, hers has a smaller tank and it's got probably roughly around the same mileage range right now. And she's like, well, what are we going to do? I'm like, well, push comes to shove, one of these cars that have basically been sitting here for the past year that we haven't driven, one of them has a full tank, and that's 21 gallons right there. So,
Yeah, you probably got to get that car moving too. You got to stir that stuff up.
no, I've started it,
Okay.
on numerous occasions and let it run
You might
and
want to
all
go
that other stuff.
jostle it
So,
around a little.
yeah, well, it might not be in there much longer because
You got a siphon. You got to pump it out.
exactly, I'm sitting on 21 gallons
You're sitting
of
on a
gold right
gold
now.
mine right there.
Exactly. You guys think that the plywood situation and just the regular construction wood situation is right now?
Oh my gosh. Jeez. All those EV owners are just like grinning smugly as if they needed more fuel for that fire, but don't bump.
Yeah. Well,
These Tesla fanatics are pretty
stop
proud
making
right now.
stop building ugly cars, and I might decide to buy one.
Yeah, there's a lot of ugly EVs out there, that's for sure.
Oh, and I'm sure I'm going to burn a few bridges when I make this comment, but there is nothing visually appealing to a Tesla. It is an ugly car that they basically have said, okay, well, we need an SUV version of it. We need a small version. We need a big version. We need a roadster version. And so they basically took the same car, put it on a stretcher, and kind of like it's like taffy, and they pulled it in every which way, and it's still an ugly car. Sorry, Tesla
What's the
owners.
command in Rhino? It's like box mesh or something like that.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
they just kind of squished and
Highlighted it.
squashed and pulled and yeah.
So I've got no love for them. I'm just waiting for here. I'm just going to throw some more fuel that I don't have because we don't have any on the fire. I'm just waiting for the new Hummer to come out,
Mm. So you're a box man.
which it is all electric. So don't come yelling at me like, "How dare you say Hummer?"
Yeah, it's a faux pas. You can't own one of those. Oh man.
I'll be honest. I think it's actually hilarious that General Motors put out the Hummer originally as a big monstrous gas pollutant nightmare, and then it went away, and everybody felt better about themselves. So it's like at least we got rid of the Hummer. Now the Hummer's coming back, but it's just like but you can't hate me now because I'm all electric.
Yeah, can't hate me now.
Exactly, exactly. So I feel like I want one just out of spite.
Yeah,
I'm not going to own one because it's ungodlyly expensive.
yeah,
Is ungodlyly a word?
it is. It is now.
It is now.
It's in
But
podcast canon. Yeah.
exactly. So uh yeah, until Disney buys us and then they might rewrite it and say none of these existed before. So
It's all of culture right now, actually.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
that never happened. Look over here.
So
So what's
you've been swinging a hammer,
I've been shoving a shovel.
sho- shoving a shovel, swinging a hammer, doing
Yeah.
all sorts of things.
Oh man, I have my back is dying. My boy and I are digging trenches and holes for foundations at this point. And otherwise, I've just been ordering and stocking up on crazy expensive building supplies so that I can build a deck. But just trying to finish the backyard before it gets too hot out here. And it's actually, the weather's actually staying pretty nice, but I don't have long until it becomes unbearable. So the deck project is underway. And yet, yesterday, the day before, I found all the rocks in my town. They're all buried in my backyard.
Exactly.
All of them. I'm pretty sure I found the dumping spot from when they dug the foundations originally for the house. Because, just an impossible number of small boulders that stop shovels and pickaxes in their tracks. So a lot of time down on hands and knees, just pulling rocks out of the ground. Doesn't make things go faster. Doesn't help the back situation. There's so many things wrong with it. So yeah, it's definitely an exercise in futility as far as the rocks go. But other than that, the design went quickly. The ordering process went quickly. The supplies actually showed up really fast. And so now it's just like, okay, what's the right sequence of events? How do I get this thing leveled? When you're dealing with inside a room doing remodeling and stuff. And I learned that this next statement is not true, but it's pretty square, right?
Right.
It's pretty square. And outside, we've got natural terrain to deal with, and leveling and squaring things off of existing structures and tape measures and stuff. It's just a new ball game, something I'm not used to, and it's an exercise for sure. An opportunity to buy new tools like a laser level, 360 degree laser level that levels in multiple directions at once, which I wish I had when I did this remodel. I actually borrowed one from a friend for a piece of it at the end, and it was amazing. So I that was my order yesterday, was a laser level so that I can, which is surprisingly difficult to find to use outdoors. Indoors is one thing. Low light situations is fine. You can go with a cheaper one, but outdoors you gotta probably have to wait till the sun goes down to use it. But I'm excited about that because using a string level, which is, I've got a 4-foot level, I've got a 2-foot level, I've got a string level, I've got various squares and things, but I don't think any of those compare to the modern technology of a laser level, a 360 degree laser level.
So the question would be is, how much more usage are you going to get out of it?
Yeah, that is the question. I'm going to use it for everything. I'm going to hang pictures.
I'm going to level all of our dinners.
I'm going to put up some chair rails and
No, you're not.
Nope, I'm not.
You say you are not going to put up any chair rails.
Nope, I'm
house.
not. I am not. So anyway, there's so much opportunity out there to use this. Actually, what it'll be is just when somebody needs it, they know where to find it. They can come ask and borrow it. It just runs off a couple AA batteries.
See, so at least you're going to be the guy.
I am the tool rental, but yeah.
Nice. Well, yeah, I've seen your garage and you got tools, and I'm sure it's just grown since then.
I try to be as what's the previous tool that I bought? Actually, I bought another tool yesterday. I have to come clean. I bought a pneumatic joist nailer, a palm nailer. Have you seen a palm nailer before?
I have totally seen them, yes.
I had never seen these before. And so this was like, I saw it in a YouTube video. I was like, ooh, what's that?
I need to keep you off of YouTube.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I just went for the cheapo Harbor Freight version because I know I'm not going to get a lot of use out of this thing. But it looks amazing for nailing in tight spaces, and it's pretty cool. It works with any nail that you want to put into a wall or into a joist hanger, for instance. But I'm pretty sure the tip of it's magnetic, so you just kind of pop a nail on and line it up and go. And that looks really cool. It's just these tiny. So for those listening who've never seen one of these before, like me, 2 days ago, I was this many days old when I learned about palm nailers. It's it's like this thing that you fit in your hand, kind of like a orbital sander, but smaller. And it's
Hmm.
got it looks like a ratchet tip on it, but I assume that's just the magnet kind of holder. And it just does these super fast, super tiny pneumatic punches, because so it's hooked up to an air canister, and it just drives a nail in super fast, but in with very small strokes. So you just hold it onto the nail, and it just like zips it magically into the surface that you're putting it into. So I'm excited to try that thing out. And then
Zips it magically.
it zips in the nails. And then previous to that, I bought a basically like a roto hammer kind of a drill, a driver drill, so that I could drill into CMU and concrete, an impact drill.
Hmm.
I haven't had one of those, and again, I went for the Harbor Freight version because it's going to be very minimally used. But we've got our whole house is surrounded by CMU walls, and we want to grow vines and put various attachments to the walls so that we can get stuff up onto the walls and cover it up because it's horrid. And so I bought one of those to put in the expandable anchors, expansion anchors into the wall, stuff like that. And that was amazing because before that I was just using a power drill, and it's a terrible process to drill into anything concrete, right? And this thing, it is magical. It just like hammers right into it while it's drilling, and you're done in no time. So it saves your back, it saves your arms, it saves your regular drill for its regular uses. You don't burn it out.
Right. Well,
So those are my tool purchases in the last, I don't know, 6 months probably.
yeah, most of mine have all been automotive tools.
Yeah.
So I haven't done much around the house. Probably a bad thing.
I
Probably going to
remember
have to
before you
start
were,
borrowing your tools.
yeah, I'll just FedEx them to you. Save the planet. Not really.
No.
I think, yeah, last time you were doing something on your house, you were scraping and painting. You were
Yeah, which
continual process.
that will be coming soon again.
Yeah.
Probably the same location.
I need to do that too. My house is due for a paint job. This is
Or
the thing about owning a house. It's just continual maintenance. So think about
yeah.
that, for those of you out there thinking it's all bliss owning a house, getting that investment going. Oh my gosh. It's just one project after another, never ending. What's
Yeah.
going on in the
Yeah.
architecture world?
Uh
What's your schedule?
well,
Nothing lighten up at all?
I have slept, and that's good. Has it lightened up? No, no, but getting more staff on, making sure that we get everything going. The schedule itself, no. And honestly, now that the other project is wrapping up bidding, I see schedule is going to be even worse.
Oh, great.
how
Jeez.
how worse can it get?
Yeah.
The uh the episode This Can't End Well.
Mhm.
We'll see if I can go even deeper than that. No, I mean, and we've got, a guy who was, kind of like the primary lead on the other project that's about to start construction, just went on maternity leave, and so I've got to kind of step back into that one a little bit and help kind of shepherd that through the final permitting process, as well as the final bidding process, which is in 2 weeks. So,
Mm.
well, and then of course the other project, we have a big, massive presentation that's basically we've got to nail it. It's got to be perfect, or they don't approve funding to continue on.
Mm.
So,
No pressure.
no pressure. Yeah, no pressure. No pressure at all.
Jeez. Wow. So, what is the bidding climate right now?
I am worried, um, because of, well, now even more so, because we've got this temporary fuel shortage. But the problem is that even with it temporary, now that pipeline is open backed up, is that there's a hiccup in the supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
And
Lagging.
so with that, yeah, so there's going to be issues with, you know, now it's going to be like a week, say 2 weeks worth of a lag. Well, everybody's got to make up that 2 weeks. And so everybody in the area who's, making that lag up is going to basically be begging for, I'm the priority. Get all of this material out to me first. And it's like, okay, well, and then if they start to divert anything,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be madness. So that I don't even think that that's something that we've started to talk about. And then just, the wood prices have also affected other prices, because as
Sure.
people are looking for alternatives
Right.
for wood, they're also, like, ooh, and I think we talked about this. It's like, ooh, I think, I might do this in metal stud. Well, I've got 600 plus thousand square feet of metal stud that's going to be going into this building. And if there's a shortage or anything like that, or delay in delivery, that's going to certainly affect a bidding climate. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know yet. Check back with me in 2 weeks and
Mm-hmm.
we can have a little bit more discussion on where we were tracking this project up until it went out to bid,
Mm-hmm.
and then what the actual bids are going to come in, and see if there's any issues there. I mean, we're kind of hoping that, people, haven't had a lot. I really have not had a lot of requests for substitutions. So
Mm-hmm.
if they're going with all of the basis of design stuff, that's a little unnerving in its own right, because,
It's interesting,
you know,
right? Because it is like it's going to cost what it's going to cost, and those prices do fluctuate wildly, right? Like what we're seeing now, and zero control over that. And redesign based on swaps is a huge time-consuming effort, and not necessarily even one of those things that's going to work out in the end, right? Like just
right.
because you're swapping out one thing for another doesn't mean that it's going to be a lot better, right? You're going to so this is like an interesting issue in the building industry in general, right? It's just the inability to control all of this stuff throughout an extremely long design process, and then through bidding and permit and all those things in between. Just it's this is why people don't want to use architects, right? Because they're not buying the thing at the end. They're buying that process and that uncertainty and that risk all the way through the whole thing. And it's not like they're actively saying, I don't want to use architects because of all that. But these are some of the big reasons why. Because they're sinking, in the residential market, they're sinking their life savings into this, or
Right.
investing it. I shouldn't say sinking, but they're investing their life savings to do this one thing. Their one,
Mhm.
you know, I'm generalizing, but that's typically what it is. Like they're going to build one house, right? There aren't that many like serial builders in the residential, single family home. This is my family. We're not going to build 10 houses. We're not going to build 20 houses. We're going to do one. And man, what an unnerving process to go through when it's like, this is all the money I have, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
So
And
instead, it's like I'm just going to buy this commodity. I'm going to buy this tract house. It's just so much easier to wrap your head around that kind of a thing and kind of understand what you're signing up for.
right.
It
Yeah.
does seem like there's a lot of opportunity there for challenging the status quo when it comes to how these things are delivered. There are some companies out there who, like, I don't know if you've seen this Hiarc.com. I'll put a link to it in the show notes, but in fact, I should pull it up right now because I don't want to speak out of turn. But it's really interesting it's kind of like the old school plan book of when I was a kid, right? It was like that thing that I wanted to go thumb through and draw floor plans, and I would just geek out on looking at floor plans. But they say concept to construction in days, not months. And it's really interesting because this team is building a technology platform that lets you kind of go in and customize and swap. It is kind of like getting a builder home, but on steroids, because it's updating in front of your eyes. So and it's not as simple as like that, turning that third car garage into an office or a nursery. It's more like you can customize everything throughout the entire house, and it does plans, takeoffs. It gives you the full 3D. It gives you construction documents, right? And then you take that. That's why they're saying days, not months, because like they're cutting the design process out. They're cutting the architect part out. And it's
Great.
probably architects who are actually making this tool, because it's like we just talked about, that current process. There's so much uncertainty into it that people aren't using it, right? So how can we actually build a tool that kind of takes the uncertainty out of it and actually has prices equipped right into the tool? Not construction prices, but it's interesting to think about how. Again, I think this goes back to the thing that like things are changing, whether you like it or not, whether you're along for the ride or not. Yeah, I'm not saying we have to like it. I'm just saying it's happening, right? Kind of a crazy. Yeah, you should definitely check it out, because this is the kind of thing that is going to disrupt some segment of the market, or is disrupting some segment and changing the perception around what it takes to build a quote unquote custom house.
Jeez. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Jeez.
I'm just watching. I'm watching
your life pass.
I'm watching the video. Yeah, I'm watching the video, and wow, this is. Dude, I mean, it's like I just watched it. It's where it's like they, it's almost like they grab the grips, and it's just like, oh, I'd like to move this wall out a little bit more.
Right.
Okay, and they like drag the wall out, and things change, and it's just, man.
Mm-hmm.
I just now feel obsolete.
I watched this one landing page on a website, and that is, it's so interesting, right? To think about how quickly things are moving now, and there's a lot of money, there's a lot of capital out there trying to land in places like this, where here's an idea, let's see how far we can push this. Pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry to bring you down, man. But like, this is the kind of this honestly, this is the kind of thing that architecture firms could be doing. But this is building on,
should be doing.
Well, could and should, but aren't, right? It's
right.
These are, their team is a United States based team for the most part, right? And I'm not saying that because I'm just saying, like, this isn't somebody else hasn't figured this out in another country and is bringing it here. Like, it's the CEO is in Durham, North Carolina, and the co-founder is in San Francisco, right? And so it's like, it's just they're coming in from the new generation of architects and builders to create. They've seen the broken system, and they're like, oh, okay, what are we going to do about it, right? And I think this just builds upon past discussions around architects are so heads down in the feeding the machine, right, which we talked about, but also just blinders on, do what I do faster, do what I already have always done a little bit faster, and kind of sharpen the pencil more and more and more. And somebody else is coming in, and they're not trying to steal your clients, Cormac, right? They're not trying to steal my clients. They're just like, there's another set of clients out there, and we're going to build what they want, what they ask for. It's interesting to think about, because it doesn't follow the traditional business models. It doesn't follow the traditional risk models. It doesn't follow the traditional finance models. It's like, it's different.
Yeah. So I followed the link of their CEO that, takes you to his LinkedIn page. And I'm looking at a lot of the experience that this, CEO has. And, he's a Harvard GSD grad.
Mm-hmm.
And he's done a lot of production, kind of responsible for designing and prototyping. And so, I mean, it almost makes sense that, you have that mindset of like thinking about how to do a quick delivery method of it. It's kind of amazing. And that these are architects
mm-hmm.
that did this. I mean, the other co-founder, he's spent a lot of his career, graduate with architecture degrees, but spent a lot of his career in, design technology experience. Worked at Autodesk in, research and development side of things and stuff. I mean, and it makes sense to, basically bringing in technology to kind of automate some of these process. Now, I mean, is it tailor made? Who knows? I mean, it would be interesting to kind of like just talk to these guys about, the concept, and really it's just like as we've talked in the past, it's like finding this need in the market that architects seem to be reluctant to, like pursue.
Right.
And so they say, okay, fine, you're not going to do it. We are.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of interesting. I mean, I think it's time to reach out, have a little chat with these fellas, because it really is kind of an interesting concept, a depressing concept, from the traditional architect's side of thing.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting to me is, so I'm trying to think. My wife said something to me yesterday, and I said, and I can't remember what the subject was now, which is lame of me, but the analogy that I thought of was, well, that's like saying, let's go draw up a set of buildings with pencil and paper. It was an analogy like that, where it's like, we are never going to go do that. We're never going to do it like that again. Right. And that's what I think basically what happens with companies like this is, like, they hold a funeral for the way things were, and then they don't think about it ever again. And let's build something new. And I feel like because our profession has been around for so long and is so entrenched in the way we do things, in the famous podcasting air quotes, we're so attached to the nostalgia of the way things were. The older generations, I don't think the new generations are, because they grew up with technology in their hands. It's just very different. It's a very different outlook. They're very much like, well, what are we going to do about this? We're going to make it better. We're going to make it what we want it to be. But I think there's such a firm grasp on that nostalgia for the way that things were, and the simplistic nature of delivering a set of, drawings that was 10 sheets instead of 1,000 sheets, right? Yeah. And the complexity that technology has brought along with some of the efficiencies, right? But there's a lot of complexity that's been added for no greater benefit on our side of the equation, it seems, because people aren't fully utilizing it anyway, that it's like we're stuck. We're just totally stuck. And so that's why these companies come along and they're like, screw it. I'm not going to be stuck like you. Why would I want to inherit that, right? I want to make it something that I want to be a part of. And I think that's what a lot of firms don't really get, is that they're modeling leadership that people are not interested in inheriting.
Right. That's great. I hadn't really thought of it that way, but you're right. When we talk about like, the good old days, or lament about, we were going through this complicated set of tasks that we need to employ on this particular project. And I'm sitting back there and I'm thinking, I'm like, wow, why is it so hard now? I mean, got all this technology that can help automate some of these things, but it takes, like, I could draw it out by hand in a shorter time frame than it would be to just like implement all of the tasks to then ultimately get to that end product. But I'm looking at it and kind of lamenting on like the nostalgia part of things, and then thinking to myself, to be quite honest with you though, I shouldn't be thinking about the quicker way to do it, but ultimately thinking about how, I mean, right now nobody understands how to do it, and that's why it seems to be a laborious task. But once everybody understands this, I mean, the efficiencies that will be gained from future implementation of all of this will far exceed my nice little sharpened pencil. And so that's why it's worth kind of like the sweat equity now, the brain equity now, to get past these stages, because it's all new. I mean, all of these different technologies, I'm sure that this hierarch didn't just, out of the blue come up with, ooh, you could just do this, 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 and this, and boom, quick and easy. That, they went through the sweat equity and brain equity to get something, to be able to automate some of that stuff. And so
Right. Right.
it really is getting to that point of being able to understand, where do we want to go with all of this? What is our future? And then
Reverse engineer it, right? It's like where do
exactly.
you can't you and this is something that a colleague of mine has said, and it really hit home, was if you don't know where you're going, you'll never get there. You have to start with the end in mind. Right. And then figure out how you are going to get there. If you change your mind along the way, fine. You don't have to be married to it, right? But you've got to know where you're going to get there. And there's so much experience that I have of nobody knows where we're going. And so then it just becomes like, well, we're just going to keep checking off the same boxes because that's what we know how to do, because we don't, it's just busy work at that point. It's not strategic. It's not long-term thinking. It's just very much like, well, what do I need to do today to get today over with, right? And I get it. Like that's real life too. But you've got to at least identify somebody or some team in your company to be doing that stuff and enabling them to do it. Because if you don't, like, you just won't be around in the future.
Right. Right.
And that is a scary reality that people 100% need to deal with yesterday, right? This is the kind of thing that there is no way to implement this later. I don't know a better way to say that, right? It's like you've got to have already started doing this, and the longer you wait, the worse it gets. And that's why you see stuff like this, and it is kind of take your breath away, and it does kind of like give you that sinking feeling, and it's like, well, yeah, maybe this isn't the answer. Of course, it's not the answer. This is a huge profession. It does tons and tons of things, and all we're talking about here is one little slice. But that's how it starts. Like, that's all you can do is actually just bite off one little tiny slice, and then innovate on that and see where it goes. And if it doesn't go where you want, you change it. But if you're not doing that, if you're not taking any bites at all, like, yeah, you are going to starve to death,
Right, right.
It's interesting stuff. So those gas prices, huh?